Yeah.
Hello again.
Welcome. Hello.
Welcome to episode 3, is it? Did we call these episodes?
3.
I think that's what podcasters do, Bains. I think they call them episodes.
Yeah, we do.
Now, quick first up, apologies to all the hardcore, the hardcore viewers, all 3 of them. For the slight delay, 3 in episodes 2 and 3. That was to try and arrange yourselves better and get these uploaded over the weekend rather than on a Monday. But with Bains being super busy with his editing schedule, I wouldn't be surprised if this now airs a week next Tuesday. In fact, with Bains' work schedule more hectic than a one-armed man trying to pull a disconnect, I wouldn't be surprised if Pointy ends up hosting the next podcast. No offense, Bains.
I'm taken.
And speaking of disconnects, today's story comes from Chris Atter on the UK Lowriding Facebook page. Chris being one of the UK Lowrider originals from way back before most current UK Lowriders could even drive. His white and blue flamed Lincoln Mark IV was hitting shows back in the early 90s, Bains. How do you feel about that?
I was in school then.
Yeah, I think I was just starting secondary school, I think. Something like that. We've also got some UK Lowrider news and the tales of 2 relatively well-known builds that have popped back up into focus after sadly fading into obscurity. So that'll be an interesting one, so stay tuned for that. But before we do any of that, we've got to do the old word from the sponsors. I haven't really changed anything as such from the sponsors quote, but I've got some funny ideas for future episodes, which I'm going to work on, and Bains won't know anything about it until the time comes.
I like it. It's raw and exciting, mate.
So, PCDbolts.com is a one-stop shop for all your retro car wheel fitment needs. Zach at PCD stocks a multitude of wheel nuts and bolts, locking nuts, spacers, spigot rings, and everything else you can imagine to get your ride rolling correct on whatever size and style wheels you desire. Does your wagon wobble? Suffering from rim rubbage? Can't find the stud pattern to match your new camper van? Head over to PCDbolts.com or spigotrings.co.uk and use the promo code LayandPlay10 for 10% off. That was smooth, wasn't it?
That was lovely. I'm going to use that one every week or every time.
Well, just edit me out as it gets worse. Yeah. No, next week. If I get it right next week, it'll be completely different. Now, at this point, I'd normally do Bains' questions, when I ask him something moronic that's completely non-lowrider related. But Matt K from True Rider suggested it would be pretty funny to put Bains and maybe someone else on the spot with a quiz. And now I haven't got anyone lined up, so I thought we could play with the format a little bit to get it, just to get it just right. I do a quiz with Bains anyway. Kind of like Mastermind, only Bains' specialist subject should be Peruvian coffee-flavoured granola bars or something equally as poncy, because his lowrider facts are always a bit off. You ready, Bains? Right, I've been practicing this.
Born ready, sir.
Okay, here we go. I actually did the end bit.
Your talents never amaze me. Continue.
Oh, well.
Please.
Okay. Hello and welcome to Master Ride. How does that sound? With your host, mate, Pedro from Lay and Play. In the spotlight tonight is Bains from Lay and Play, a videographer type fella who does camera things. And then there's a drum bit normally, but I haven't programmed my keyboard to do the drums. So Bains, and then I've just copied the format off the actual Mastermind. So Bains, your name, please.
Bains.
Correct. And occupation. These aren't questions. Occupation.
Cameraman type thing.
And your unspecialised subject is?
Unspecialised, but low riding.
There you go. I snuck that in and you caught it. Threw it, you caught it. Happy days. Right, so here we go, Bains. Are you ready? Question number 1.
You've got a keyboard.
We need some background music for this.
I'll put one.
Mood music. If you got time, mate.
Got it.
2 of the common full-size Chevy models from the 50s through to the 90s are the Impala and the Bel Air.
Yes.
But what are the other 2? And a point for each. Don't Google it.
What years?
So between the 50s and the 90s, Chevrolet had four. They had a few, but they had four most common big body Chevys.
Cadillac.
The Impala, the Bel Air.
Fleetwood was a big body.
Right.
Was it?
Go on.
And I'm going to say... I don't know. Is there a time limit on this? Because if not, I'm just going to sit here and wallow in self-pity.
You could either say pass and we'll...
Pass. Yeah.
So the answer, James, is Caprice.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Chevrolet, you said.
And Biscayne. Yeah, it did say Chevrolet.
I'm sorry. I didn't know them.
Oh, look at you now. Oh, yeah, I would have got them. I didn't hear the question properly.
Identified by the tail lights, usually, where is it the Biscayne? It has one. And then the Bel Air is two, and then the Impala has three. So, my knowledge
very good. By the way, there's 10 points in total. So that was 2, and you got 0.
I'm having half a point from tail.
Next question. During the late 80s and early 90s, there was a movement towards building smaller, cheaper, and very frequently Japanese cars as lowriders. What was this style of lowriding nicknamed? Euro. Yeah, that's it. Bains is off the board.
It's weird because, even though they're from Japan, they're not actually European.
It was because I think towards the end of the 80s, the Caprice and all the G-body cars, they changed the front end from a big heavy bumper, or not that. They made them more rounded headlights, like European cars,
and that's where the name came from, not as we described.
I think it just followed up from there, yeah. I think it was just that time, and they just had a European look about them. I think that's what I read somewhere anyway. I was trying to do a bit of research. Question 3. So there's 6 points here, Bains.
Yep.
Okay. This should be fairly easy.
6.
Name as many of the current UK lowrider car clubs as you can.
Lords, True Riders, Diplomats, Unity,
so there's 2 more.
There is.
You got the easy ones.
Are we counting the revived? Sorry, not the revived one, because that was Lords, wasn't it? Lords was brought back.
Yeah, Lords made a comeback. Diplomats were an old club that made a comeback. But there's 2 more that are both USA-based clubs. I'll give you a clue. Sysups Porter is the president of one of these clubs.
Oh.
The initials are BF.
Boulevard's finest.
There you go.
And there was actually way down south, Isaac started one. Is that the one you're thinking?
Yes, there was. Yeah, I don't know. We don't hear enough about them. I've only picked on the ones that have, they're doing it. They're out there.
I don't remember what he called it, but it was.
There might be more than 6. I don't want to get political. I just thought the 6. There was a post up recently on one of the forums or one of the Facebook pages, and it was the 6 plaques. And I just thought if you'd seen that and then see if it had registered in your little noggin.
I can't remember the last one. Hit me.
The other one is Sophisticated Few, which is John up in Sheffield. He's the only member of it. He joined a US club, and now he's like the I don't know whether he's the president or he's whatever he is, but he's the representative of Sophisticated.
Missed that one
in the UK.
Sorry, John.
So you've got, I'll give you Boulevard's finest. So you got 5. So you got 6 out of 10 so far. That's not bad. There's one last question. I was struggling here. Name the preferred brand of pump heads used by lowriders and hoppers worldwide. Marzocchi. Yeah, I was trying to. I went on.
Is it Marzocchi?
If you do, when you can go Google and say pronounce Mars, because it is an Italian word, and he just says it as an Italian would say it.
The reason I say because when I used to mountain bike, Marzocchi made a lot of the suspension stuff, and that's, I'm assuming, a sister brand.
I think it's all the same. I think they're a hydraulics firm based out of Italy, which is mad, isn't it? That they use Italian-based stuff in California.
It's all fluid dynamics, and once you know how fluid works, transfer.
Although it's weird that I've never been able to buy Marzocchi pump heads from Italy, so
they've got to travel around the world, come back, and
I have to get them from California. Madness. But anyway, that concludes the questions, Bains.
Nailed it.
And I can tell you, out of a possible 10 points, you managed to get 7. You got 7.
No.
Congratulations, Bains.
That's not bad, thank you.
That's good going, that. And it's set out the stall, hasn't it? Because we've
set the bar low, so any newcomers can come and take number
exactly.
1.
We can challenge. We give people some really hard ones. Make them
I'm going to give you
right.
hard ones. Lowrider news.
Oh, well, yes. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed that. Maybe a returning feature for when we finally get organised enough to have some guests on, which is essentially what we just said, but not what I had written down. I don't know why I've just read it. So Lowrider news. Wow, this has been a Lowrider heavy ep so far. In fact, I haven't got any nonsense for this ep. It's all Lowrider-ish.
Actual Lowrider related.
So I don't know whether you want to go first with anything that you've seen.
Yeah, so just flicking into my archives, Pat Banks has continued to work on Nick Singh-Hota's 63 Impala frame, creating some beautiful custom arms or reinforced arms for the front of it, which we'll put some pictures here. Underestimated the amount of work that goes into those, you know. Like,
I think those arms that he posted a picture of are the arms off Zach's 70 Impala, which he says himself were a struggle. He's never done anything that, because they're all different shapes and sizes, aren't they? I think I noticed on the 70 Impala that the front end was completely different to Matt's Impala, to the El Camino and the Lincoln. It's
the
Cadillac.
Bespoke. You can't exactly go to like a laser cutters, get a kit for each one, and
plus nobody's done it here. They will be the first ever reinforced set of 1970 Impala arms done in the UK. So he's the man. Yeah, breaking down boundaries or whatever the saying is.
Breaking new ground.
Breaking new ground. Like anything else?
Hold on, Pat. Other than that, we've only seen a bit about a new paint job on a Lowrider revival story.
Yeah, well, I've got a bit on that.
Yeah,
I've got a bit on that, so I'll get to that. Firstly, we'll go to it's a bit of a somber tale because I am involved in it, although I'm not going to garner too much credit for anything that went on. But that's the white and now blue Lincoln Town car that's been on eBay and off eBay, and it was $4,000, then it was $7,000, then it was $11,000, and it's as the price has gone up, the condition's gone the other way. Now, that car was originally built by Dave the Gent, who we mentioned last week, who was still low riding in the middle of winter, getting his wires all rusty, with the assistance of Chops, which Billy Bollock Chops, as he's known, is an original Lords member from back in the day who still gets involved with building cars. And now it appears to be at an auction house up in Newcastle, judging by, well, I did do a bit of research, and I think it's up in Newcastle, looking extremely sorry for itself. There's pictures online, but I expect the sale will have gone ahead by the time this pod appears. Because it says the auction date is the 12th, which is this Saturday at 11 a.m. So you're probably watching this, it's either Saturday night, Sunday, something like that, and it would have already been sold. So a lot of people will be waiting to find out what happens with that, and hopefully it'll end up in the hands of somebody with the time, patience, and funds to return it to his former glory, or at least remove the KFC bucket off the hood emblem spot. I mean, it's
a real sorry state that, because it was such a nice car, and then
it was. It gradually went through 3 Lowrider owners, and they all put their own stamp on it and did their own bits of work to it. And then, what was that? And then it sort of lost its way a little bit and kept on reappearing on the internet, or like it was at a swap meet at one point, and you could see like the wheels, which were gold plated at one point, or it was like an aftermarket gold over chrome. And they were all beat up, and all the tyres were different, and the wrap that's been put on it's peeling off, and now the rear taillight's all smashed to bits.
It just needs a lot of love and some money put into it, doesn't it? Sounds like
it's just a shame. It's just a shame because it's a great base for somebody who wants to put the work in, but like with Sweet and Sour, at the price that it's being banded around at, there's no margin. There's no... You've got to be, everybody spends more than what their car is worth, especially in lowriding. But if that car, if a completely finished Lincoln Town car with a full wrap, everything immaculate done, is worth 20 grand at the best of anybody's money, at 11 grand, where are you going to get your paint job from? Where are you going to get your new interior from? Where are you going to get all your trim from? Where are you going to get a new set of wire wheels from? Mm-hmm. But a full set, I think it's got 8 batteries in it. That's 800 quid. It's got to be cheaper. And that was the same with Sweet and Sour. The guy who's got it wants 12, 15 grand for it, but it needs 20 grand's worth of work doing on it. It's just not feasible.
No.
Sorry about that bipping noise. I've got a smoke alarm, a flat battery, and I stuck it in here in the hope that I could forget about it, but it's still bipping after about 3 months. So yeah, and then moving on to the Cadillac that Bains has just mentioned, is Barry Watson's old red Cadillac. So back about 5-6 years ago, Barry, who's now got the silver Regal, had a red Cadillac, Coupe de Ville, 2-door, and he sold that. And again, I don't know whether it went through a few owners, but I think it ended up in Yorkshire in a yard full of other cars. And for whatever reason, that car, along with others, including John S.'s purple Regal, which is now sat in black, that ended up in the same place on Facebook for a knockdown price. I've no idea what happened to it or what happened to the owners. But again, looking pretty sorry for itself, weeds growing around it and stuff. But fortunately, that's been bought by a guy called Chris Mills, who just out of the blue bought this lowrider as a bit of a chance. And he's not only managed to turn the car around and get it all back working again, he's got all the juice working, he's got engine running and stuff, but he's blessed it with a fresh black and pattern paint job, and it looks incredible. So we posted pictures of it on both the Lane Play Instagram, UK Lowriding Facebook page, so go and have a look at it. It's probably been our most popular post of the year so far as well, like just out of nowhere. It's been shared like 20 times, which is huge for us. It's had like 300 likes. It's quite a big. It's a
very clean job. I had a look at his Instagram page, gave him a bit of a stalk earlier on, and it looks like he takes cars which look a bit tired and then sort of like does a bit of a resto mod on it, and like, but he doesn't cut corners, so he has engines out,
does a good job.
Engines, and so like,
he said
save that one.
He was messaging me about it, trying to get a bit of history, and I think he was looking for some part. I'm not sure if I sold him some dump parts or something.
Yeah.
But he was talking to me about buying believe it or not, the blue Lincoln. When that reappeared, the guy who had the blue Lincoln up in Sheffield was messaging him saying, "Do you want to buy this?" I think he went up there to have a look at it and was told the stories and stuff. And it's just strange how, and it is it's like a common theme with the UK lowriders, that somebody within the scene will buy or build a car to a certain standard and then sell it, and it'll like, the guy won't know how to charge his batteries, or a dump candle will burn out, and then it goes to another guy for a bit cheaper because he doesn't know what to do with it, and then the batteries all end up being flat and he doesn't know how to replace them, or a solenoid goes, and it just like gradually staggers and stalls and limps onto like somebody's front garden with a sheet over it. And it happens, it's a frightening amount. So you think that there's maybe 100 active lowriders in the UK at any one point. You could probably name 10, 15, 20 cars that have either missing or sat rusting away on somebody's drive. It's frightening. It's frightening.
Yeah, they're out there.
So anyway, moving on again. It's now story time. See how we've got a format working now. We've got
it's growing. We're finding what to do.
We open, we quiz, we news, we story, blah 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 blah.
We entertain. We sing.
Oh, it's lovely. We entertain. Yeah, love it. So yeah, grab a beer and a bag of snacks and find your comfy chair and put your hand in your slacks, because it's story time. See that little reference to the rap there, Bains?
Nice that.
So today's story, as mentioned earlier, was sent in by, I don't know what we're saying, listener or follower or whatever. I don't know if you watch the podcast, but he definitely follows the UK Lowriding page. Is Lowrider OG Chris R. Like I said, as previously mentioned, Chris is one of the UK Lowrider originals from way back, and was heading to shows in his juiced Lincoln Mark IV way back in the early 90s. So when I was 10, 12 years old. I wouldn't even have known what a lowrider was back then. I wasn't that cool. Not as cool as Matt Loxton anyway. So we recently posted a meme relating to disconnects, the lowrider's note rope, as some people call it. So those not in the know, it's probably the only safety device, or the only built-in safety device, other than the fire extinguisher, that really should be included in every lowrider build. Should something go wrong, you can pull the disconnect, taking the earth from the batteries, so you're breaking that connection and hopefully rendering the system without power. Or I've seen disconnects be pulled and things still be going wrong, which is obviously a wiring issue somewhere. But as Bains will know, and a lot of people within the lowrider community will know, pulling the disconnect can be a frightening experience, especially for newcomers. That first crack of the note rope is pretty shit scary. So Chris had this to say: when I first started out, I didn't have a disconnect. The first time a solenoid stuck on, I jumped out of the car, opened the trunk, got a spanner on the battery negative lead, but the spanner caught the metal trunk hinge and arced out. I was running 12 batteries at 48 volt, so it could be anything up to 4,000 amps. The spanner welded itself to the car before I could pull the positive cable off. That was an interesting experience. So, and as always, somebody's story brings me back to some daft story that I've experienced. So if you don't mind, Bains, I will continue with another nonsense story from me and being an idiot back in the day. So this took me back to a similar experience early in my lowrider days, way back when both Run to the Sun and my green Cutlass still existed, which I believe neither of them do. To add a little context to those, especially outside of the UK, Run to the Sun was like a hedonistic type event. Do you go, Bains?
No, it finished the year I was going to go.
Yeah. It was held at a campsite down in Newquay, so like surfer dudes, loads of drugs and that. It's where I first saw a lowrider, and then I frequently made a pilgrimage down there in my own lowrider once I'd finally got one. The order of the event was drink, drugs and driving. I only ever did 2 of those things, and never at the same time. Facts. But that didn't stop the stupidity ensuing, and on this particular occasion I found myself driving through the campsite in the Cutlass, hitting switches as I go, only for a solenoid to stick closed, which essentially causes the power to continue blasting into the motor even though the hydraulics are fully lifted. The pump squealing, panic sets in, I jump out of the car and run round to the back of the car, to the trunk where the disconnect's fortunately hanging out. Wait a minute, why is the car still moving? I've left it in drive, haven't I? So I'm now chasing my car, trying to pull a disconnect through a campsite with like tents and campers everywhere. But fortunately, I got it apart quick, and I was still young and fit enough to catch up with the car, jump in the driver's door like something out of the A-Team, and take it out of drive. But yeah, good times. Have you had any funny disconnect related stories, Bains?
I never had a solenoid fail or lock on or anything like that. I don't think. I probably overlocked.
Builds were too good.
Yeah, I probably overlocked it. I was only ever on 36 volts, so it wasn't like big power. But that one time where I didn't even connect the disconnect, and yet I think it must have somehow been touching the actual battery rack or frame, and so the switches were still working. Just going through the frame, and then when I tried to sort of like raise it back up after like scraping the drag blocks, it wouldn't go up because there's no connection there. It's dead. So strange that was.
Yeah. I think we've all had it. One of the other scary experiences involving batteries was, I think it was when the Cutlass was rebuilt, and I bought 6 brand new batteries for it. And I was at Stevie D's workshop, and I was up against the car, was up against the wall, and the wall was right against my back, and my hips were up against the trunk floor at the edge of the car, and I was leaning into the trunk, putting the battery terminals on, and I dropped the spanner across what made a 24 volt loop, and I couldn't move because I was wedged in, and this battery just melted the terminal. In fact, I might still have the spanner somewhere. The spanner's just got like a great big notch out of it, where it just obliterated a brand new battery in front of me. I was about this far away from it,
One of the best tips and advice that I think Matt Loxton gave me was just like get your spanner and wrap it.
Don't buy lowriders.
Yeah,
Sorry,
wrap it in like electrical tape or like heat shrink, just so if you do drop it.
Yeah.
Huge tip. Huge tip.
Good idea. Big brain, Matt Loxton.
I think he's done that for experience because he welded his bracelet. He had
Yes, he did. I was there at the time. He's done some pretty. He's been welding and then put his hand on whatever it was. He just welded and melted his hand and all sorts of stuff. He's got a rep. And speaking of which, if anybody out there watching this has got any funny stories, please send them to us because we like reading them out. And it always like reignites a little flame of me and Bains and something daft that we've done in the past that we can tell you about. And I think that's it. I think that kind of wraps it up, Bains. It's been a short and sweet one.
Yeah, but
unless you've got a song or anything, you got a rap for us, Bains? I
was going to prep one, but you know, I've been a busy boy.
Too busy, man. You're a working guy.
I've hair today. Yeah, so we'll do a song. I'll break it to you. I might do it sometime, just when you least expected it.
Well, that's the way I like it, Bains. I don't like the prep of cringe. You know, I like to just cringe on the spot. To finalise then, in the last episode we spoke about the vids that we plan to do, and we've done none of them, which was like the 1970 Impala final vids. I didn't film one, you did, but you haven't had time to edit it. We were going to go to Rob's and do a final vid. That didn't happen, and you couldn't come anyway. His car isn't ready, so that's being reorganised. However, we did knock out a little tech vid. Don't know if you've seen it. It's just a video on the different types of cylinders. Over here, we've got the standard style cylinders that you'll see on American builds, but then there's a company in the UK that install their own types of rams. And I get a lot of people saying, how do I fix these rams? How do we replace these rams? And they appear to be unserviceable. So I've just gone over the different style of rams, what to find, what problems that you can have with them, how to replace seals in them. So I'm hoping that was quite useful for you. And the other thing is the pod counts. I don't know if you remember, Bains, that every week
viewers
or every. So at the point of filming, the first video had done 134 views, and we were pretty stoked on that. So now at the point of filming this, the second episode, Bains, are you ready? Drum roll. 168.
Hey,
so we've increased by 34 views, but the first episode's gone up as well. But now the target for this one is 168. So hopefully, if you can get it edited in time, get it up. The weekend, Saturday, Sunday. I reckon it'll have more traction with it being the weekend rather than being on a Monday. So we're on the way up, Bains. And I'd just like to thank everybody who's watching it and commenting, and anybody who subscribes. The subscriber count on YouTube keeps on going up, 1 or 2 every day or so.
Yeah, so appreciate you all. Thanks for following us and supporting what we do. Also, don't forget to check out PCD Bolts, link in the description.
PCD Bolts, yeah. The man Zach, if you need stuff,
the boys
I'm going to do something funny for the next PCD Bolts advert.
Little bolt nipples or something like PCD Bolts.
Yeah, well, I don't know yet. We'll see. We'll
leave it there.
Yeah. Okay, bro.
Right.
Have a good evening.
Thanks for watching. Bye.